Hi, today I'm going to go over my version 5 Sidewinder. It's pretty similar to the version 4 as far as function. There's just a couple of different things such as how to put the rubber bands on, and I have a new tuning trick for them. One of the most important things with my Sidewinders and all the Sidewinders is having a good firm grommet or nipple. I have my own custom nipples made. You can get them on my site or through Lucky Supply. Now, when you put your needle on, it's important to do this with all machines, but especially with the Sidewinder, you want a good bend on the needle. You don't need like a dramatic bend, but you need a gentle arc throughout, and then a little bit more bend on the actual needles themselves. You want the needles to actually lick the tip of the tube. If it doesn't, then you're not going to get the most effectiveness out of your hit. And ideally you have enough bend so when you put your rubber bands on, it'll actually pull your needle bar, and your needle bar will look pretty straight, if not just slightly forward. You don't want it to be rubbing on the front of your tube. I have some people who, they tell me their machine's not running right, but the fact is they put too much bend on their needles, and their needle bar was actually rubbing somewhere in their frame or in their tube on the high side. Okay, with this machine, you can either use 3 number 12 rubber bands, or I prefer these number 28 rubber bands. You can get a band like this, these little thicker ones. Kingpin, I saw, sells them on their site. Or you can just do a search. I mean, you can find them on Amazon probably. So with this, I put the rubber band around the needle and then twist it and put it up over the motor shell. You can go either over these ears, or if you need a little less tension or whatever, vice versa, you can put them down there. You're just going to get a little bit more tension by putting them back on those ears. Now, as soon as you get the machine, the only thing you need to really worry about as far as tuning, unless I made a mistake and sent it out untuned, is adjusting the stroke. What I typically do, put the machine at 4.5 volts and have it loaded. It's pointless to try to tune these machines without a tube and needle in. So put your tube and needle in, put your rubber bands on. It should sound crisp at 4.5 volts. If the stroke is too short, it doesn't sound like anything. It's just mushy. You need that hit. If the stroke is too long, it may work on with a longer throw for your big groups, but it's going to sound pretty choppy at 4.5 volts. So for the biggest power range, I like to make sure it sounds good at 4.5, and go to 6 volts and make sure it's sounding good as well. Sometimes if the stroke is too short, it might putter out and whatnot. But these machines are a lot easier to tune, it seems, than my older version. So turning it in will make it hit harder. Backing it out will make it hit softer. On these machines, this motor spins a little faster than the older models that I had. So you would pretty much just go about a 0.5 volt slower, or 0.5 volt lower than what you did with the version 4 or 3. So my normal range is from 5 to 6 volts on this. Okay. Over time, the impact screw right here will bury itself into the frame, and so you have to reset the impact screw. I made this really simple on this model, and even on my later version 4s I did this, where there's a line on the cam and there's a line right there on the frame. And what you want to do is you want to push the armature bar down, roll the cam over, and then you use your 1.5 millimeter Allen key and turn in the impact screw right there. And you can see on this, if I turn that impact screw in, you can see how that line moved, and that's way high right now. So I'm just going to back that off right there. Typically it'll be the other way around, where it's going to be right there, and then you turn it in until it's lined up. Hopefully you can see that good. Now on your impact screw as well, that's the impact screw, and that's a side locking screw just to keep the impact screw from moving on you. So just make sure that that's also snug. Now let's just see if I back this out. It's not really doing anything. These machines have, they're a lot more forgiving to tune than my other models. But typically if it starts sputtering on you, that means you need to reset your impact screw. And just, like I said, push the armature bar down and align those two lines right there. Your armature bar should be pretty much parallel with the frame. Yeah, so the armature bar is parallel with the frame in most cases in those two lines. The most important is that those two lines match up. One last thing is direction of your clip cord will change the hit. If your positive is up, the flywheel or the cam will spin clockwise and it'll be more snappy or punchy. And if you go the other way, it'll be a little bit more passive. Keep all your sterilants away from all the bearings, all the moving parts, this little area in here. Any electrical connections, the sterilants will ruin it. And that goes for all machines. Don't oil these bearings, don't oil anything on it. The oil will do more harm than good. Hopefully that makes sense. You can email me if you have any further questions. Thanks.